actually very, very nervous for this review because, first of all, I have spent all morning waiting for this to arrive in the mail. I ordered the new Patrick Ta Major Skin HYDRA-LUXE Luminous Skin Perfecting Foundation. This is undoubtedly going to be one of the most viral, popular foundation launches of the year. This is a pretty big deal. So I've been excited. So before I even turned on this camera, I slapped the foundation on my face just to get an idea of what I wanted to talk about, what I noticed. And it left me feeling very confused. It looked and felt really skincare-y, but in a way where it wasn't much of a foundation. It was sticking to the hairs on my face, but looked good from afar. But I don't want to look good from afar. I want to look good from close up too. So I switched up my skincare because I use mostly the Laneige Cream Mist. And I'm hoping maybe it was like adding a little funky with that. So we're going to try it again with my new skincare that I use more often. And even though I do use that a lot, I'm just really trying to like this foundation. So I ordered this from Sephora. It came very fast. It is available. It looks like there's a big range of colors. Looks pretty decent. I know some of you said on the lighter side that they didn't look that great. I think these are leaning, I don't know. I haven't seen the range in person. Let me stop. I'm not too sure. I picked up the shade 6 Neutral. I was in between this or 10 Neutral because I prefer a neutral tone. And I just had this fear that 10 was going to be too dark and then 6 was going to be too light. 6 works for me. I think if it was a smidge deeper, it would be better of a shade, but I can work with 6 Neutral if you're a shade match with me. Okay, the details. So the foundation comes in this box in line with the Patrick Ta makeup, made in the USA with globally sourced materials, 12-month shelf life. The bottle of this packaging is divine, even though I've already got my dirty fingerprints all over it. It is glass, it is heavy, it is luxe, as it should feel with its $58 price point. That's expensive, so I'm really hoping it's good. So some call-outs for this. Lightweight luminous foundation with a serum-inspired ingredient and a buildable medium coverage formula that boosts hydration and blurs the look of imperfections. They say coverage medium, finish radiant. There's hyaluronic acid. Best for all skin types, it says, which I think is interesting. There's been a lot of foundations that launched recently. Okay, let's see. I just really am wanting this to work for me because I love Patrick Ta as a makeup artist. I love the aesthetic of the brand. I love the idea of his products. But lately, I feel like they just haven't been that good. I haven't loved what they've launched recently. I also wanted a foundation for Patrick Ta that I really love because last year he launched, or a couple years ago, the cream foundation and finishing powder duo, and honestly I just wasn't a fan of this. It was too thick on me and cakey. So I think this could be a good redemption because the collarettes are the complete opposite from the cream foundation. So let's see. Let's do one full pump. This is how much you get, and you can see it is pretty liquidy. Here we go. Now, while it looks pretty runny, consistency-wise, it feels like a serum. It feels thick like a serum, and it also leaves a residue behind on my fingers. Can you see that? It's a glowy, thick residue. I really feel like this is serum skincare infused because it leaves that sticky, not so sticky, but like hydrating feeling that I don't know if I like or not. This foundation has left me feeling very confused, but you can see as a shade 6, it could be a bit deeper, but I can make it work because they claim that this is a buildable medium coverage. It's really light coverage. Like this honestly reminds me of a little bit more coverage than a skin tint, but it's giving tinted moisturizer to me in the looks, in the feels. I'm using my IT Cosmetics number 7 brush to blend this in. Now in my phone demo, I layered it on a little bit thicker to see if I could get more coverage, and it looked like it separated. It looked kind of scary on my skin. Once I blended it out, it looked a little bit more like how I look now. That looks scary. But I can tell you right now from the finish and the feel, it's not a lightweight feeling foundation. It feels a little bit heavier and it has this gorgeous glow. Like, I look hydrated, but I do worry this could read greasy on somebody with an oily skin type. I forgot to mention this, but I have normal to dry skin, leaning a little bit more dry right now. It blended out very easily. So you can see one side is done, one side is not. I would say it gives a light coverage. It's not quite reaching medium. We'll build it up a little bit, but I am worried about building this up for it running the risk of getting too oily or heavy or greasy. So it's doing the same thing again. So it's not the skincare, where you see how it's just catching on to, I guess, the hairs, which I don't have a big problem with peach fuzz. I'm not somebody who has a lot of peach fuzz, but this is emphasizing it as if I did. Some foundations will react to that, some won't, but honestly most won't. So I don't like that. It just doesn't look super smooth. You definitely are going to want to do a little shaving of the face if you are prone to peach fuzz. If you want to, I'm not telling you to do that, but just to get the best wear and finish out of this foundation, because otherwise, besides it going to what looks like peach fuzz, I look really juicy, really, really hydrated, really plump. Has a gorgeous plump look to the skin. So when its claims are boosting hydration, I 100% agree with that. But the other claim is blurs the look of imperfections. I wholeheartedly disagree with that. Peach fuzz aside, I don't think it's emphasizing anything worse in terms of pores, but it certainly is not covering it. And with the glowier nature of this finish, like, the pores are there. They're not screaming, but they're saying, hey. Just gonna build up a little bit of coverage, but it's a bit thicker because it feels so serum-y and skincare-y. Like, I just don't think this is a foundation that I'd want to build up, because instantly with the build up, I became twice as glowy. I feel like this is a less is more formula, but we're gonna leave it at that. And I'm gonna pop it on the other side of my face. But let me know what you think. It's just not quite perfect. There's some foundations where I put them on right away and I love the finish. That's not how I feel about this. I got asked in my comments to compare it to the Fenty foundation that I have been loving. Opposite sides of the spectrum. That Fenty truly is perfecting, smoothing, has like just a soft look over the face. This, a lot more glowy, lighter coverage. Like, it just makes me look a lot more dewy and plump, but it also is not nearly as smoothing, and I just prefer that more perfected look. I'm still working on the first pump here, so 1 to 2 pumps most is all you're gonna need. So you see, when I let it sit on my skin on a little bit of a thicker layer, it almost looks like it's separating. This leads me to believe that building it up is not a good idea, because it just kind of clumps up. But I mean, that's not that big of a deal, because literally, if you just blend it out, it soaks right into the skin and it looks better. But on my initial application, I got really scared for a second. I just added a dollop to finish up my forehead. So here's the deal with this foundation. I am currently on a DSLR camera, a professional camera. 2 giant studio lights on me and a mirror right in front of my face, quite literally critiquing every aspect of this foundation. So when I look close, I see it clinging to the peach fuzz. I see it looking a little bit shiny because I have these studio lights. So what I'm hoping is IRL, it looks really, really healthy. It does not set down. It feels unset. Do I disrupt it when I push on it? Not really. It doesn't leave any streaks behind, but I do have some of the product in my fingers, so it's not going to set down at all, but I'm going to use a powder to help me with that. So up close, I'm not in love with it. I'm being honest. It's not horrible. It's not the worst foundation I put on, but it's just not my preferences. But then when I take a step back, when I put my mirror a little bit further away, when I sit in front of the window and look, my skin looks so plump and hydrated. So that has been my battle here. I feel very confused because I really don't like it as a makeup reviewer up close in front of my studio lights. But as I've walked around with a little bit of distance between me and the mirror, I do look really, really healthy. I mean, the claim that this is medium coverage, I personally disagree with. This is a light coverage foundation. It'll give you a little bit more than a tint. Finish is absolutely radiant, but I think it feels a little heavy and it could read greasy on oily skin or if it doesn't wear well. And then, like I said, it definitely boosts hydration. It feels fantastic on my skin. Does not blur imperfections, does not set down. But it's okay if a foundation doesn't set down as long as it reacts well with other products. So I'm going to go ahead and finish my makeup so you can see how it sits. Wait, okay, so I do have a damp sponge. I don't have anything on it, but I do find that the sponge pushing it in is diminishing the peach fuzz emphasis. So that's good. I prefer a brush to blend out my foundations, but I feel like this one needs a little extra bit of push with a damp sponge. Like, I feel like that really helped the texture. The makeup has settled. I went pretty light with complexion makeup. I didn't want it to change the wear of the foundation too much, so I did a little bit of a heavier set on the under eyes and then a lighter set with a fluffier brush on the rest of the face. This is a foundation that I would recommend having a little bit of powder all over the face because I fear that my hair would stick to it because it just has a little bit of a tackiness to it. Not really sticky, but just unset. Now that it's settled, I think it looks a little bit nicer here. It looks very, very natural. It's a light coverage foundation. The glow is peeking through a bit still. I mean, with the powder on, that instantly kind of took up the glow that it had, but I can still see it peeking through. So it looks really, really nice, and I'm telling you, that game-changing thing, it really changed my view on how this sits on the skin. Maybe make it cleaner than this, but a damp beauty sponge after you blend it out will give the product that final push it needs, and instantly my skin looked so much smoother. So I was feeling kind of sad before. I feel a little bit better now. Now this reminds me of the foundations that launched 2 years ago that were very skincare infused, and I just felt like those foundations looked a little bit heavier, sat heavier, felt heavier on the skin. I was not a fan of that phase of formulas. This reminds me of those skincare infused formulas, but it is looking nicer. It's not looking as heavy, so it is a step up from those. That being said, this foundation is not my personal cup of tea. I prefer something with a little bit more of a dry down, a hint more coverage, just a little bit lighter feeling on the skin. I don't like skincare infused foundations. I think the look of this is better than what they came up with 2 years ago. That being said, I don't like the residue it leaves on my fingers. It just feels a little bit heavy to me. So, that being said, the big call-outs I have about this foundation is I don't think the descriptions are completely accurate. It's not medium coverage, it's not blurring, and I don't think it's going to be for all skin types. Now, I can only speak on my own skin type, so that's where you guys come in, especially if you have oily skin, but I would love to hear from everybody. After you've tried this foundation, share your skin type down below and how this wore on you. And if you have any critique on color as well, let me know if you feel like there's not a shade light enough for you or a shade dark enough. But generally speaking, I am very worried about this on somebody with oily skin. Now, the day is young. We still have a full wear test ahead of us. But as the foundation has settled in, I am definitely liking it more from go. So I'm hoping it's up from here. I will be with you guys in a few hours. Halfway through the wear test, and here is what we are looking like. pleasantly surprised. I thought for sure, based on the look of it, that my skin was gonna look really heavy, really glowy, not to my taste. I did go out in a walk. It was pretty hot, but everything looks relatively fresh still. So what I'm noticing where the breakdowns are happening. Around my mouth, I'm starting to see it get a little spotty down here. I find that with foundations and wear time, the foundation can cling to like little pores and stuff here. It's starting to, but it doesn't look bad. I'm noticing a little bit of collection potentially starting around this area of my face, but it still isn't anything that bothers me. The one thing I will say about the wear here, since it doesn't set down, when I touch my face, I notice it transferring to my fingers. That's a little bit annoying, but it felt like it wasn't going to set down in initial wear. We knew that that was going to be the case. But overall, as somebody who was very worried that this would be way too heavy, way too glowy, dare I say it's finished really, really natural. Now, if you do not set this foundation, you really could look quite oily. I did set the foundation with powder all over, and it's reacting really, really well to having powder all over. To me, that's 1000% a necessity. I feel like no matter how dry you are, this is such like a thick foundation. It needs some powder to soak into. And I was trying to decide because I couldn't verbalize what this reminded me of, the foundation. I couldn't put my finger quite to it. I just felt like I was saying like it left like a residue, like it felt really skincare-y. It reminds me of the Glossier Future Dew Oil Serum Hybrid, but with some tint to it, with a little bit of coverage. So if you don't like this consistency or it's too heavy for you, I don't think you would like the new Patrick Ta foundation. They just remind me of each other in how they feel, how they sit on the skin, but obviously Patrick Ta is a foundation, so it is different. But I feel like whatever formula they put in here, this is the Glossier, it's really similar to the feel and texture of the Glossier. It just has coverage in there. That's the closest product that I can think of to describe the Patrick Ta. Now, the Glossier, it's been the same thing where I've said with this, you have to go light. It could get too heavy, too fast, too glowy, too fast, but it still can make the skin look beautiful, especially if this is exactly what your skin needs. And yeah, this was exactly what I was being reminded of with this, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it because they are two different products with different purposes. Am I making sense? I'm tired from my walk. Anyways, pleasantly surprised with the wear right now. I thought we would be looking a lot more broken down, but these next 4 hours are gonna tell you a lot. I have to stop starting these wear tests so late because I'm ready for bed. But let's take a look at the makeup. Of course, now we definitely have some wear and tear to the foundation. Not as perfect as it was looking halfway through. It's broken up around my mouth. I did eat a pretty messy dinner. I had tacos. You know what? This foundation does not really seep into my fine lines that much. That's quite impressive, but I think because it's really thin and soaks. I've been calling it, have I been calling it thick? It's heavy, but it's like not thick. It's that serum-y feeling. So there's not too thick of a layer to really separate. It's faded decent. Like I don't look amazing, but I definitely don't look bad because it's light. Which I feel like is the opposite of what I was using to describe it because I've been calling it heavy. It's thin. Okay, anyway. I have to be honest, it has worn a lot better than I expected it to, which is a good thing, which just adds to the confusion about this foundation. I'm definitely going to have to wear it a lot more. So definitely make sure you're subscribed to my channel because as I use products more, I will feature them in a speed review. So you are going to hear back about this from me, but wear time was much more impressive than I thought. So here are my overall thoughts about this foundation, as confusing as it might be. This is not my cup of tea when it comes to a foundation. I don't really love the feel of it, the purpose of it. It's pretty light in coverage here. The wear is better than I thought. However, it definitely needs a thin layer at least of powder all over the skin in order to set it, because if I didn't, I do foresee this being messy on a hot day. I don't really think I'd recommend this for oily skin. I'll keep you updated on that as I continue to use it and you guys share your experiences with it. But if you come into me, I'm working at Sephora, and you're like, I have oily skin, I'm not pointing you to this foundation, you know what I mean? It also doesn't set down, so I've been accidentally rubbing, swiping, scratching my face, and the foundation is coming along with it. So definitely use a good setting spray if you can to help lock the product in place. Slightly annoying, I've been mindful not to touch my face if I can help it, but sometimes accidents happen. And that's what happened here, so it's a little messed up in that case. So the foundation is okay. I was worried about it there for a second, for many, many seconds. But at the end of the day, it pulled through. I think my skin looks healthy. It looks natural. It doesn't look heavy whatsoever. So it came through at the end. Application, a bit of a disaster. I was really unsure about this. My biggest tip, if you notice it kind of sitting on top of the skin, this is a product that needs that extra push in. Clean, damp sponge, and it will kind of take that top layer off, or that sounds like it's scraping it off. It's not, but you know, it pushes it all in, and then the foundation actually looks very, very skin-like. A little bit overly glowy, so be careful. It can feel heavy on the skin because I swear, it feels like this Glossier Future Dew Oil Serum Hybrid. It's lighter than this, but if you are not a fan at all of how this feels, I don't know that you're going to love this. But if you love this, maybe. I feel like I'm trying to justify it. At the end of the day, it's just an okay product for me. I do think it's quite a unique foundation. I don't have many foundations that feel like that and perform like that in my collection. But is it beating other favorite foundations in my collection? No. I most recently reviewed the Dior foundation stick. It's not better than the Dior foundation stick. And plus, they're kind of in a similar price range. So I'm not directing you guys to this foundation as of now. Like I said, I'm going to continue to test it more. It is way better than the cream foundation, so when I happen to be doing like a full face of Patrick Ta, 99% chance I'm reaching for this over this. But I still feel like I have some unfinished business with this, so I'm going to continue testing it. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. As always, your comments are the most helpful part of this review to complete it all. So if you've tried it out, share your skin type, your complexion, and your thoughts on the foundation, because I always reference your guys' comments for further reviews to help everybody out. So make sure you like and subscribe to my channel, and I will catch you guys in the next review. Bye guys, have a good one.